Junho Park sat alone in the sleek, dimly lit cafe, his fingers nervously tracing the rim of a steaming coffee cup. The Galactic Dating Network's holographic interface flickered softly beside him, casting a blue-green glow across his worried face. At 32, he had tried every possible method to find a meaningful connection. Local dating apps, workplace mixers, even traditional matchmaking services. But nothing had worked. The interstellar dating platform was his last hope. Unlike Earth-based services, this network promised connections across star systems, breaking the traditional boundaries of romance. Junho had spent weeks creating his perfect profile, honest, straightforward, with carefully selected photos that showed his professional life as a planetary logistics coordinator and his weekend hiking adventures. A gentle vibration interrupted his thoughts. A match had been found. Junho's heart raced as he examined the profile of Yuna Kim, a trader from the Outer Rim colonies. Her professional image showed a confident woman standing beside a massive cargo ship, her uniform crisp and her stance strong. Her bio suggested she was looking for a serious relationship, someone who understood the complexities of interstellar life. The cafe around him seemed to fade. Other patrons continued their conversations, unaware of the potential life-changing moment happening at Junho's table. He took a deep breath and initiated the first communication protocol. The holographic interface translated his typed message into multiple alien communication formats, ensuring maximum compatibility. "Hello," he wrote, his fingers trembling slightly. "I'm interested in learning more about you." The response came quicker than he expected. Yuna's message was direct, almost blunt. She appreciated his professional background and wanted to know more about his interests beyond work. Junho found himself smiling. Her communication style was refreshingly honest. Over the next few weeks, they exchanged messages that grew increasingly personal. Yuna shared stories about her trading missions, the unique challenges of navigating different planetary regulations, and her dreams of eventually settling down. Junho talked about his work in planetary resource management and his passion for understanding different cultures. Their conversations felt natural, almost magical. They seemed to understand each other in ways Junho had never experienced before. The digital distance between them seemed to vanish with each message, each shared laugh, each moment of genuine connection. The Galactic Dating Network's advanced algorithms confirmed their compatibility at 87.6%, an exceptionally high match rate. Most human-alien matches struggled to reach even 60% compatibility. Junho tried not to get his hopes up, but it was difficult to contain his excitement. They agreed to meet at an upscale restaurant known for its ability to accommodate multiple species and culinary preferences. The establishment prided itself on creating environments where different beings could comfortably interact, with adaptive atmospheric controls and universal nutrition synthesizers. Junho spent hours preparing. He studied Yuna's cultural background, learned basic phrases in her native communication style, and selected an outfit that would be considered both professional and approachable across multiple cultural standards. The night before the date, he could barely sleep. His mind raced with possibilities. Would this be the connection he had been searching for? Could someone from a completely different star system truly understand him? Little did Junho know that this date would become far more than a simple meeting. It would be the beginning of an adventure that would challenge everything he understood about relationships, cross-cultural interactions, and the very nature of connection in an increasingly complex universe. As dawn broke over the city, casting long shadows across the gleaming skyscrapers and advanced transportation networks, Junho Park prepared himself for what could be the most important evening of his life. The universe, with all its infinite possibilities, seemed to be holding its breath. The date was set, the anticipation was building, and somewhere in the vast, star-filled darkness, Yuna Kim was preparing to meet him, unaware of the extraordinary journey that awaited them both. The restaurant hummed with soft ambient sounds and translated conversations from various species. Junho arrived 15 minutes early, a habit born from years of professional discipline. He chose a table near the window, offering a view of the city's complex transit systems and distant orbital platforms. Yuna was late. Minutes ticked by, and Junho's initial excitement began to transform into quiet anxiety. He ordered a simple drink, something neutral that wouldn't clash with potential alien dietary requirements. When she finally arrived, something felt immediately different from their digital conversations. Her movements seemed slightly mechanical, her smile somewhat forced. The translation device on her collar sparked occasionally, creating brief moments of awkward silence. "You look different," Junho observed carefully, noting the discrepancies between her digital profile and her current appearance. Yuna's response was delayed, as if processing each word carefully. "Travel can change one's appearance," she said, her voice lacking the warmth of their previous communications. The first course arrived, a molecular gastronomy creation designed to be compatible with multiple biological systems. Junho watched as Yuna seemingly struggled to consume it, her movements unnatural, her interactions disconnected. Conversation stumbled. What had been effortless in digital messages became a complicated dance of misunderstandings. Yuna's responses seemed rehearsed, her questions slightly off-center. Junho noticed small inconsistencies, a slight tremor in her hand, an unnatural blink pattern, a way of sitting that seemed more programmed than organic. A spilled drink became the turning point. What should have been a simple accident transformed into a moment of complete communication breakdown. The exotic liquid, a rare mixture designed for interspecies consumption, spread across the table, revealing something unexpected. Junho noticed something strange. The liquid seemed to react differently with Yuna's skin than it should. A subtle shimmer, a momentary distortion that normal biological systems shouldn't produce. "Are you feeling well?" he asked, genuinely concerned. Yuna's response was a calculated smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Everything is perfect," she said, the words hanging in the air like a poorly constructed hologram. The evening progressed with increasing tension. Each moment revealed more questions than answers. Junho's professional training in planetary logistics had taught him to recognize patterns, to detect inconsistencies, and everything about this date screamed of something fundamentally wrong. By the meal's end, Junho was certain of one thing. This was not the person he had been communicating with for weeks. The digital Yuna, warm, intelligent, engaging, was completely different from the woman sitting across from him. Something was wrong. Deeply, fundamentally wrong. As they prepared to leave, Junho noticed a small technological glitch, a momentary flicker in Yuna's translation device that revealed something unexpected. A series of numerical codes, a brief glimpse of something mechanical beneath the human-like exterior. The realization hit him slowly, then all at once. This wasn't just a bad date. This was something else entirely. Outside the restaurant, the city's nightlights created a complex pattern of artificial and natural illumination. Hover vehicles moved silently between buildings, their navigation systems creating invisible pathways through the urban landscape. Junho stood watching Yuna walk away, his mind racing with questions. The perfect match, the carefully constructed digital persona, the strange behaviors. Everything pointed to something more complicated than a simple dating misunderstanding. He pulled out his communication device, fingers hovering over the screen. Report the incident. Investigate further. Something about this encounter felt like the beginning of a much larger story. The night around him seemed to pulse with unspoken secrets, with possibilities both exciting and terrifying. And Junho Park, planetary logistics coordinator and now unexpected investigator, was about to step into a world far more complex than any dating profile could reveal. The morning after the disastrous date found Junho sitting in his compact apartment, surrounded by digital evidence and scattered documentation. Soft city lights filtered through smart glass windows, casting a cool blue tone across his workspace. His communication device displayed multiple screens, dating profile records, message logs, and financial transaction details. Each piece of information told a story of systematic deception. Junho wasn't just disappointed. He was professionally insulted. The Galactic Dating Network's terms of service sat open on his primary screen. He had spent hours analyzing every clause, every tiny legal detail. Something about his date with Yuna violated multiple contractual agreements. First, her profile image was at least 30% different from her actual appearance. The network guaranteed visual accuracy within a 5% margin. Second, her communication history suggested a level of emotional engagement that proved entirely fabricated during their actual meeting. Junho began organizing his evidence with the precision of a trained professional. Timestamp logs, communication records, even the restaurant's holographic receipts became potential legal weapons. Each document was carefully scanned, verified, and categorized. His professional background in planetary logistics had taught him one crucial skill. Documentation matters more than emotion. Where others might have simply felt hurt or disappointed, Junho saw an opportunity to challenge a system that allowed such widespread misrepresentation. The first step was contacting the Interstellar Dating Complaint Bureau. Their automated system required extensive documentation, something Junho had meticulously prepared. He uploaded digital files, personal statements, and comparative analysis between the digital profile and actual encounter. Hours passed. Junho's apartment remained silent except for the soft hum of processing devices. He reviewed each piece of evidence, cross-referencing, ensuring absolute accuracy. This wasn't just about a bad date. This was about maintaining systemic integrity. A notification pinged. Initial response from the Complaint Bureau suggested his case had merit. They requested additional verification, which Junho was more than prepared to provide. He drafted a formal complaint document. Each paragraph was carefully constructed, removing emotional language, focusing on factual discrepancies. His professional writing style transformed a personal disappointment into a potential legal challenge. The financial calculation was precise. He itemized every expense: dinner reservation, transportation costs, specialized outfit preparation, emotional distress compensation. Each line item was documented with receipts and professional valuations. Junho understood something most would miss. This wasn't just about recovering money. This was about challenging a system that allowed systematic digital misrepresentation. His case could potentially create new regulatory standards for interstellar dating platforms. As evening approached, he completed his documentation. The complaint package was comprehensive, logical, and backed by solid evidence. He wasn't seeking revenge. He was seeking systemic correction. The Galactic Dating Network's response would determine his next steps. Would they acknowledge the discrepancies? Would they offer compensation? Or would they attempt to dismiss his carefully constructed argument? Junho leaned back, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. Whether he won or lost, he had transformed a personal disappointment into a potential catalyst for change. His methodical approach turned a simple dating mishap into a potential landmark case. Outside, the city continued its endless dance of light and movement. Hover vehicles moved silently between towering structures, their navigation systems creating invisible pathways. The universe continued its complex choreography, unaware of the small but significant legal battle about to unfold. With a final review, Junho submitted his complaint. The digital systems processed his documentation, sending encrypted signals across vast communication networks. His case was now part of the larger system, a potential challenge to established interstellar dating regulations. The decision to sue was more than a personal choice. It was a statement about transparency, honesty, and the importance of maintaining ethical standards in an increasingly complex, interconnected universe. The Interstellar Judicial Complex towered above the city, a massive structure of crystalline materials and adaptive architectural design. Junho arrived precisely on time, wearing a carefully selected suit that balanced professional appearance with cultural neutrality. The tribunal chamber was unlike any Earth courtroom. Multiple species served as adjudicators, beings with tentacle-like appendages, holographic representations, and biomechanical interfaces. They represented various galactic legal systems, each with unique perspectives on justice and contractual agreements. Junho's case file had already created quite a stir. The Galactic Dating Network's legal team had attempted multiple strategies to dismiss his complaint, but his meticulous documentation proved challenging to ignore. The complainant will present his case, announced a translucent judicial interface, its voice modulated to be universally comprehensible. With practiced calm, Junho began his presentation. Digital slides materialized around him, showing precise comparisons between Yuna's digital profile and actual encounter. Each slide was a masterpiece of logical deconstruction, comparing promised characteristics with actual experience. He presented financial calculations with surgical precision, not just the direct monetary costs, but the calculated value of emotional distress, time wastage, and systemic misrepresentation. His argument transformed a personal dating mishap into a broader challenge of interstellar consumer protection. The Galactic Dating Network's representative tried multiple counterarguments. They suggested variability in interspecies interactions, potential misunderstandings, cultural differences. But Junho had anticipated every potential defense. His documentation showed not just discrepancies, but a systematic pattern of deliberate misrepresentation. Communication logs, profile modification histories, subtle algorithmic manipulations. Each piece of evidence told a story of calculated deception. The tribunal members listened carefully. Tentacled adjudicators leaned forward. Holographic representations shifted. Biomechanical interfaces processed information at incredible speeds. Junho's case was more than a personal complaint. It represented a potential systemic review of dating network regulations. Yuna's profile had been carefully constructed to bypass standard verification protocols. Junho demonstrated how her digital persona was likely a composite design, created to maximize matching potential while minimizing actual compatibility. The core issue, Junho explained, is not just a bad date. It's a fundamental breach of digital trust in interstellar communication systems. Hours passed. The judicial complex hummed with translation devices, processing complex legal arguments across multiple communication spectrums. Junho remained calm, his professional training evident in every measured response. The turning point came when he presented comparative data showing similar complaint patterns. His case wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a broader systemic issue in interstellar dating platforms. Judicial interfaces began cross-referencing his evidence. Complex algorithms calculated probability matrices, examining every aspect of his argument. What had begun as a personal complaint was transforming into a potential landmark legal challenge. The Galactic Dating Network's representatives looked increasingly uncomfortable. Their carefully constructed defense was being systematically dismantled by Junho's comprehensive approach. As the hearing progressed, it became clear that this was no longer just about Junho's individual experience. It was about establishing new standards for digital interaction, consumer protection, and interspecies communication platforms. Junho had done more than seek personal compensation. He had exposed a complex system of digital manipulation, challenging established regulatory frameworks. The final moments of the hearing approached. Holographic timers counted down. Judicial interfaces prepared their preliminary assessments. Junho stood quietly, waiting, his entire professional career having prepared him for this moment of systematic challenge. The universe watched, or at least the small portion of it represented in this judicial complex. A single individual's careful documentation was about to potentially reshape interstellar communication standards. As the lead adjudicator prepared to speak, the entire chamber seemed to hold its breath. Junho Park, planetary logistics coordinator, had transformed a disappointing date into something far more significant, a challenge to an entire system of digital interaction. The verdict was moments away, and nothing would be the same again. The verdict came swiftly and unexpectedly. The lead judicial interface projected a holographic declaration that transformed everything Junho had anticipated. Not only would he receive full compensation, but the Galactic Dating Network would be required to completely overhaul its verification systems. News feeds across multiple star systems picked up the story within minutes. Human exposes interstellar dating fraud, flashed across communication networks, turning Junho into an unexpected celebrity. His careful documentation had done more than win a personal case. It had created a legal precedent that would reshape digital interaction standards. The financial compensation was substantial. Beyond recovering his original expenses, the tribunal awarded additional damages for emotional distress and systemic exposure of fraudulent practices. But Junho discovered quickly that money was the least interesting part of his victory. Interstellar dating platforms began implementing new verification protocols. Complex AI systems, previously believed to be foolproof, were now required to undergo more rigorous testing. Junho's case had exposed vulnerabilities that no one had previously identified. Research institutions started contacting him. They wanted to understand his methodology, his approach to systematic problem-solving. His background in planetary logistics suddenly seemed like a unique advantage in navigating complex interstellar systems. Media interviews followed. Junho found himself explaining how careful documentation and professional approach could challenge entire technological systems. His story became an inspiration for individuals who felt powerless against large digital platforms. The Galactic Dating Network was forced to issue a public apology. Their reputation took a significant hit, with user trust dramatically decreased. Regulatory bodies began investigating similar cases, using Junho's documentation as a template for future investigations. Unexpected opportunities emerged. Speaking engagements, consulting offers, and academic research positions became available. What had started as a personal disappointment had transformed into a career-defining moment. His family couldn't quite understand the magnitude of his achievement. His mother simply appreciated that her son had been compensated for a bad date. His colleagues in planetary logistics recognized the broader implications of his systematic approach. The most surprising outcome was the dating invitations. Multiple alien species reached out, impressed by his intelligence, persistence, and systematic approach to problem-solving. Junho found himself amused by the irony. His case about a failed date had made him unexpectedly attractive. Technological companies began redesigning their verification algorithms. What Junho had exposed was not just a dating platform issue, but a broader challenge in digital representation and verification across multiple systems. Academic papers were written analyzing his case. His approach became a case study in systematic problem resolution, cross-cultural communication, and digital fraud prevention. Universities began incorporating his methodology into curriculum about interstellar communication strategies. The financial compensation was transferred to his account, a significant sum that represented more than just monetary value. It was a recognition of his systematic approach, his commitment to transparency, and his ability to challenge complex systems. Junho remained humble. To him, this was never about personal victory, but about maintaining systemic integrity. His professional training in planetary logistics had prepared him for this moment, understanding complex systems, identifying inconsistencies, and presenting clear, logical arguments. As weeks passed, the initial media attention transformed into lasting systemic change. Dating platforms across multiple star systems began implementing more rigorous verification protocols. Consumer protection guidelines were rewritten, taking inspiration from his case. The universe, it seemed, had recognized something fundamental. Individual persistence could challenge even the most complex systems. Junho had proven that careful documentation, professional approach, and systematic thinking could create meaningful change. His story spread across communication networks, becoming an inspiration for individuals facing similar challenges. What had begun as a personal disappointment had transformed into a landmark case of consumer protection and technological accountability. In the vast, complex landscape of interstellar communication, Junho Park had become more than just a person. He had become a symbol of systematic challenge, of individual power against large technological systems. The date that was supposed to be a simple personal interaction had become something far more significant, a catalyst for systemic change, a testament to the power of careful documentation and professional persistence. And somewhere in the vast, star-filled darkness, other individuals were learning from his example, preparing to challenge systems that seemed unbreakable.